This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Marquees such as Jaguar, Bentley, and Aston Martin have all but made British sports cars synonymous with racing. And so it's fitting that this vintage sports car series has brought Round 3 to Snetterton, a classic British track. But this former airfield has been revamped many times over in its history, and it no longer resembles the collection of long, bumpy straights it once was. Instead, a series of tricky and sometimes downright scary mix of turns face our competitors. Will anyone live up to that British heritage? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 3 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. hans-joachim, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, at times this is a circuit that gets snubbed in sim racing, with it offering us the ability to jet off to places like Spa or Monza pretty easily, but I'll be honest, this is a challenging little course.
Yeah, challenging is putting it lightly, Joe. Folks, we are in for a real treat today because this track is a camel driver's nightmare, the Snetterton 300 circuit. Built on an old World War II era RAF airfield, this Norfolk track challenges every driver to have the mettle of those who have gone before. While its 13 turns and 3 miles or 4.8 kilometers may not seem like much, it's how those turns are strung together that will be the bane of every Audi and Nissan driver alike. With the Wilson and Agostini hairpins serving up wheel spin for the Nissans, and Brundle, Augies, and the bomb hole turns causing massive understeer for the Audis, there is nowhere to hide on this circuit, making it probably the most technical track on the Camel calendar this year. These drivers will be using every gear in their gearbox as they dodge the high curbs, low banking, and the other classes on this extremely narrow track surface. And towards the end of this 40-minute race, watch for tire wear to become a factor as they light up the rears, trying to get the most out of each tight bend. But, as they say, one driver's pain is another viewer's pleasure, so let's turn on the fasten seatbelt sign and take a turbulent wrap around the Snetterton 300 circuit in our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Snetterton. Coming up to Riches, though there's plenty of braking and you might get a chance to pass, this is still a relatively fast corner. The double apex also makes it tough to execute. From out of there, you could also be tempted to try something into Wilson. This is a tight little hairpin with a long braking distance in the Audi, but it's so sharp that entering on the inside line might just be too slow to get the pass done. Out of the corner, you've got to switch sides and you won't have much time to set up for Palmer. You'll find it really tightens on the exit, and many drivers will be lured into getting onto the power too early. Follow the slight curve of the straight and try to spot your brake marker for Agostini. This is deceptively tight curve, and I found myself wanting to brake later and later, only to get bitten with a bad push mid-corner. I think a pass or two might be seen over the course of the race. Coming up quick is Hamilton, which is surprisingly fun for a medium-speed 90-degree bend. Then right away you're into Augies, which is thankfully the last of these many infield hairpins. The tricky bit here is the curved acceleration zone, where you might see a few tire tracks being left as drivers try to find grip. Then you've got one of the most important turns of the track with Williams. It's really tough not to turn in too early, and with it dumping you onto the Bentley straight, a hesitation on the gas can be costly. After a short breather, you're chucked back into it with one of the toughest braking zones of the whole lap. Brundle requires a big stab on the brakes, and then carefully you'll be bleeding it out as you get the car to turn. Then finally, another big stomp is needed to slow you up for Nelson. Keep off that big inside curb and then look for your brake marker into the bomb hole. The car compresses in the middle, but it's the crest on the exit that'll leave you spinning your tires half the time. Finally, we've got Coram. You'll always feel like you'll want to feed a little more gas in, but it's critical that you hug the right side. Straighten out the end of it as best you can, since that's where you'll be braking for Murray's. With this taking you back onto the pit straight, a good exit is oh so important. But hopefully you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Snetterton.
Here you see a lap around Snetterton, and while there isn't a lot of elevation change, there are a variety of corners around this place that will challenge everybody. Qualifying's just started, so we don't have any time on the board. Let's take the opportunity, while we've got it, to look at the championship, starting with the prototypes. The GTPs have Phil Lake up at the top, but only by 1 point over Jungbluth. It is incredibly tight there. And look, it's only 6 back from the leader to Martin Krejcik with his good finish last week. Honestly, awesome to see Martin do this well in the pro standings. Up 3 positions. Fabian Gerber, sadly, down 3. And then we've got 2 drivers tied for P5. Let's go to the GTO standings. Adam, how's that looking?
The GTOs currently are being led by Nick Mukanos. He's got 47 points right now. Just 2 behind him is Rob Olenek, unable to make the pass last week over. And then we have Ovi Trangarade now. They're 5 points behind after his unfortunate spin last week. And then Reed Miller and Sergey Serban both didn't show up last week, so they're quite a few points behind. But those point standings could definitely close by the end of this season.
Thanks for that, Adam. Let's take a look at the race details as well for this round. Not a lot has changed. It is still the sprint format. We are in round 3 of 12. And as always, there are open setup cars with the fuel slightly, well, no, the fuel isn't limited, excuse me, but there is no stop for fuel in this series. So everybody should be going straight from finish to end unless something really goes wrong. You can see each winner of each class is going to get 25 points for the top. So we are just about ready to get some times. Real quickly, a quick reminder that you are watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. All you got to do to make sure that you get Kamel in your YouTube feed every week is subscribe. Just go to the YouTube page, click the big red button that says subscribe if you haven't already, and then you'll get to watch Kamel week in and week out. So we get Justin Albrecht, the first of our drivers to get a time in, the only driver to get a time in thus far, naturally, is on pole over in the prototypes. It's like Rob Olenek so far this season has been certainly looking to follow up on his championship last season, Adam, and try to follow it up with back-to-back. He's been faring pretty well.
True, but currently in this qualifying session, he has yet to set a time. We're going to see whether or not he can get a good time in. I believe that he got an off during that last lap, so he's not been able to get a time in, so he's going to be depending on the second lap for his qualifying time, and that's not a position you want to be in, especially around this circuit where track position is very important.
Looks like his first time is good enough for third provisionally. Riley Thompson is got it on pole, and he must have messed up his second lap because he's already exited and decided he's only going to count that one. Nick Mukanos is still out there and could overtake him. We understand we have a special birthday for one of our drivers, Fran Toledano, who is driving in the Audis in the number 14. He is 65 from what we understand.
It's always fun to race on your birthday. It's a good time to get out some energy and really, celebrate life as you go 140 miles an hour on this crazy track.
Yeah, work off some of that cake with the turn the power steering up on these the force feedback as you watch Fran work his way around for his second lap. Oh, and Fabian Gerber just took the pole in the GTP class, bumping Justin Albrecht to the outside of the front row.
By 1/1000th of a second as well.
Oh my gosh. That is going to be a good fight for sure. Still watching Fran come around to complete this second lap. And I know that Phil Lake is coming across now as well. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to go faster. He's taking a bit of an odd line, and indeed, he is a little bit slower. Let's see what Fran's got. Second lap, not faster, just a 10th down.
Ove Trangarate now.
Oh, go ahead.
Ove Trangarate now, he's coming around. I believe he's just started his second lap, so I'm not sure if he's going to have enough time to get his lap in. We'll see whether or not he can finish it, but that's Simo Raba now going around track, and he's looking like he's going to improve if this time counts.
I'm seeing Ove having completed both of his so far, so I think he's just warming up at this point. Simo did go quicker, but barely. Oh, no, actually he went a second quicker, I should say. Sorry, I was looking at the tenths and didn't look at the seconds. So he improved greatly, but he's still last of the drivers. Louis Simmerton has not put a time in yet. Now, he's used to coming from the back of the field, so I'm not sure if this is intentional, because I don't see he's run any laps here in qualifying. This is Michael Haynes that we're watching. He comes around with his second lap, giving a 1:56.0.
Yeah, Luis has not exited the pits even. He's just not even in his pit lane. He's just not even in his pit box, just sitting at the end of the pits. So I suppose that he's decided not to take a lap. Right now we're on board with Sergey Serbin as he finishes his lap. That was his fastest. And the Ove Trangarade just doing laps right now, just knocking it off, getting some practice in.
The only driver left that is Riley Downey. He sits in ninth in the Audi as the number 17. Never mind. Riley just went off track. And Brundle and PK, which I expect to be the good money's worth if you want a seat around here today. That is a tough corner.
Yeah, Brundle is going to be really difficult, especially for the multi-class action. We're going to see the Nissans not expecting how tight the Audis are going to be through Brundle and especially into PK. The Nissans are going to have to watch very carefully to make sure that those Audis don't overshoot the corner.
And apologies, I believe it's Nelson. I don't know why. I guess my brain was not sure if it actually is named after Nelson PK, but we'll get back to that in a second because we've got a grid to go through as they finished up. Fabian Gerber, as we mentioned, is on the pole with Justin Albrecht on the outside of him. Phil Lake will be starting in third, was not able to improve and get himself onto the front row. Fabian Jungbluth seems to downplay his ability, but he'll start from fourth. I expect him to probably finish around there, if I'm honest. John Keefe will be starting next to him in P5 with Johnny Bell sixth, and then Louis Simmerton, as we said, did not get a time in. He will start at the back of the prototype field. Adam?
Large GTO field this week. We have Riley Thompson on the pole by about 4/10, so that's a good gap for him. Nicholas McConnell is going to line up on his outside. Rob Olenek coming in the third position alongside Ove Trangarade. We saw a good battle between him and Nicholas McConnell. Those two and Nicholas McConnell last week. And we have Miguel Castro coming in the fifth position. Then Matthias Habdahl in sixth. Fran Toledano in seventh, Reed Miller eighth, Riley Downey is going to be in the ninth position, followed by Sergey Serbin in the 10th position, then Gennady Kalashnikov in 11th, Simo Raba in 12th, and Michael Haynes 13th, rounding out your GTO field.
Few people a little surprised, it seems, from the race chat that we have more Audis than we do Nissans today, but that should hopefully reflect a little bit better like real life. Now, did Fabian Gerber just disappear off the track for you? Because I thought he was out there. Yeah. And
he's missed the start.
Well, he's going to have to start from pit lane if he's still in the server. Hopefully his connection didn't go out on him. But, well, that takes away a bit of the thrillingness that we thought we'd see between himself and Albrecht. But Albrecht's probably loving this. He still has his teammate Phil Lake going to be starting behind him as they work their way out of Murray's. Porsche pace car going to peel into pit lane to release them. As the green flag comes out, round 3 gets underway here at Snetterton. It is a good start by Albrecht. He checked up his teammate a little bit. That put him under the gun from Jungbluth, who now has to fend off John Keefe to the inside. But as they come through Riches, everything looks clean. Let's go to the Audis.
So far, a clean start. Riley Thompson getting a really good getaway, but the two Dirty Torque drivers side by side and almost making contact there. They're going to go one to one, and we have a dive, a late dive there from, I believe that was Nicholas Makanos. The 10 car of actually Miguel Castro is now up to third position. A really good start from him. A great dive into turn one.
Wow, Miguel was brave into Wilson for sure to manage to get by Mukanos. And bad news for fans, Fabian Gerber, he did lose connection. Unfortunately, he is going to be well down the order by the time he can get back into the server. So we watch the Audis now work their way through the infield. Your leader still Riley Thompson trying to pull away from last season's champion, Rob Olenek, and then newcomer Miguel Castro coming in with a splash there, now onto the podium.
Yeah, Riley Thompson is starting to streak away, but Rob Olenek doesn't have a challenge from behind, so if he can get consistent and get steady, he might be able to get up there and catch Riley Thompson. But Miguel Castro, what a start from him. Starting in the 5th position, now up to 3rd. He's doing a great job. We have a battle down there for 7th position between Fran Toledano and Reed Miller, as Reed Miller's trying to go around the outside there of Brundle, but it's not going to work.
But Reed has to back out of it, and that puts him under threat from Serban. You could see the white and blue car behind, the number 13, through the bomb hole and into Corum now. He stays tight to the back of him. Maybe if he can get a run off of Murray, something down the front stretch. Are there any straights long enough to offer any draft in these Audis?
Bentley Straight is not quite long enough, but Senna should be long enough to get something done here as we see Nicholas Makanos going by. He's going to try and get him on the outside here, Miguel Castro. That's not going to work, and he's going to have to tuck right back in behind.
On screen, we're watching the battle farther down as Toledano and Serban were going side by side. You could see a little bit of action in front of them, as well as Castro actually went off, handed all those positions back. That moves Mukanos up to 3rd. Trangrade gets 4th, and Havdal finds himself in the top 5. Action everywhere. Coming through Augustini, tight left-hander. Everybody trying to get the traction down, then into Hamilton.
And Matthias Havdal really looking in on this battle here between Ove Trangrade and Nicholas Makanos. We saw those two battling last week as well, and I believe Nicholas Makanos is driving quite a good race right now, just putting his car exactly where he needs to be to block Ove Trangrade. As Trangrade goes wide into the grass, that's going to give an opportunity to Havdal, but Bentley's not quite long enough to get a draft run here, so as they go into Brundle, he's going to have to back out of it.
Ooh, but very strong into Nelson. Ove Trangrade taking a lot of curb as well.
Oh, we have contact further back in the field. That was between Fran Toledano and Sergey Serban, as Serban was trying to go around the outside of Nelson.
Yeah, it's always tricky trying to go through here too wide. You talked about how narrow this track is. You could see turned in, and Toledano was there, so there just was not a racing line to be had. So Fran was up, and now he's, as we're continuing to watch the replay, we come back live. He just lost all those positions once again through Murray's.
We're taking a look now at Justin Albrecht field by about 2 seconds over Phil Lake. He's pulled out a decent gap, but actually back in the battle for 4th is a little bit tighter between Fabian Jungbluth and Luis Emerton back further in the field.
Remember, Emerton started at the very back. He's since overtaken Johnny Bell. Now on board with Luis, looking up at Fabian Jungbluth. They hit Brundle and then swing it back through Nelson. Getting nice and tight to the rear of that blue and white machine.
These Nissans, their downforce works pretty well around most of the track, but some of these turns are just a little bit too slow for the downforce to work properly. And so you'll see a lot of these Nissans struggling with that turbo lag that we've seen at a lot of other courses as they come off the exit of these medium speed and low speed corners.
The good news for the GTPs is they've still got a while before they start to lap the back of the GTO field. So if they're going to make hay, now is the time to do it.
Speaking of making hay, Riley Thompson at the lead of the GTO field has pulled about a second and a half now on Rob Olenek. So he's starting to streak away. Rob Olenek holding pretty steady, but we're going to see who's able to manage the tire wear as they come up off of these corners here. They really do get down into first gear for some of these hairpins, and so that can cause a lot of tire spin on exit, and that'll wear your tires down and make it a lot harder to get traction off the corner later in the race.
Is it enough that if you kind of take it easy, look like you don't have the pace at the start, the car will start to come back to you at the end with everybody else burning off? Or is it something where he's really got to stick to the back of him?
Well, you have to stay within reach because the tire wear isn't that significant, but it does give you an opportunity to make a pass if Riley were to make a mistake. So it's not something that's going to affect your race pace quite as much as it's going to affect your consistency. And so that's something that that Rob Olenek going to have to look for as we get later on in this race.
Rob just holding at that second and a half behind. Behind them, actually, Nick Mukanos is still fending off Ove Trangerade for P3. Ove just got done with a Lotus 49 battle over at Oulton Park, another British track, trying to fight for the podium. And it didn't quite come out for him, but still had a lot of fun in the process. We'll see if he gets into another tussle here as they come out of Williams and onto the Bentley straight. Once again, both of them swinging a little bit wide.
And right behind them, Miguel Castro's trying to make a move on Matthias Havdahl. He's not going to have the opportunity to do it this time going into Brundle, but he's definitely close. And so these two battles, along with another one further back between Riley Downey and Sergey Serbin, they're all happening. But Miguel Castro, a really bad exit out of Nelson there. So unless Matthias Havdahl really botches Corum, he's going to have to back off and try again another day.
We talked about having to go all up and down through the gears as well. And, well, this Audi isn't known for a very friendly gearbox. I wonder if that's what's causing some of these drivers' problems.
Not only that, but some of these curbs are extremely high, and running over them can damage your front end and give you a lot of engine damage. So that's not something that something you have to be extremely careful of. You don't want to cut these corners too tight, or else you'll run over those curves, take some air, lose speed, and really get some damage.
Riding on board with Castro, chasing Havdahl as they come back into the infield section. This is the newest part of this circuit, built a few years ago. Before it was relatively simpler. This certainly adds a lot of complexity and really a variety of radii corners. Meanwhile, up at the top, you can see that Justin Albrecht just set the fastest lap of the race as he continues to pull away from Phil Lake. It is now 2.5 seconds at the lead of our GTPs.
Yeah, but he's starting to run into that traffic, and as we've seen, especially at Bathurst in our season opener, that traffic can really affect the battles that go on here, and that 3-second gap that he has back to Phil Lake can just disappear if they catch someone through Brundle or through the bomb hole, because those are very high-speed portions of the track for these Nissans, but very low-speed and dangerous, treacherous portions of the track for the GTOs.
See Lake navigating that traffic. That was just Michael Haynes that they were going by. I don't think that Albrecht's going to catch the traffic in front of him through that last portion. But you've got your eye on the Audis still, it looks like, because really, while the Nissans have separated, man, we just can't get away from this GTO class.
Yeah, Ove Trangerade got a really bad exit off of the final corner, and Nicholas McConnell's able to streak away, but Ove Trangerade is definitely faster on pace right now during this race, and he's starting to close in. Nicholas McConnell's having to string out the car quite a bit. He's quite a bit of that four-wheel drive on exit to try and streak away from Ove Trangerade. That's going to just come back to bite him later on in the race as his tires are going to go away, and that's going to create inconsistency that Ove Trangerade can use to jump on him.
Ove certainly keeping himself within touch of Mukanos. They come up towards Agostini. Get onto the brakes hard into this tight left-hand hairpin. Both of them, as you said, trying to avoid wheel spin, coming off, swinging it through the kink of Hamilton, and then another hairpin through here, down through Augie's tight entry, curved exit as it opens up. And the all-critical Williams onto the backstretch.
Over Trainberry getting a little loose. Nicholas Mecanos getting a little loose, but Mecanos got a much better exit this lap, and so he's going to be able to pull away down Bentley into Brundle.
This is honestly our best fight in the field currently. All the other cars have come apart from one another mostly. Man, he is tucked right up underneath him. Tranquerade, I think sooner rather than later, is going to get an opportunity somewhere, especially once they get hit by the GTPs. Hopefully they don't actually
stop getting in the grass there on the exits. He keeps going out wide on exit, and that's causing him problems. Unless Nicholas Mecanos makes a mistake, Ove Tranquerade is going to have to be a little cleaner in order to get those runs, but looks like this might be his opportunity.
Yeah, very wide from Mecanos, but he's using that four-wheel drive to good effect as he's pulled a gap on Tranquerade now as they come up to Riches.
Believe it or not, Justin Albrecht is actually close in on this battle. He just went by Riley Downey of the GTOs, and he's closing in on Reed Miller. So he's closing in really close, and that's going to cause some problems for both him and those two battling.
There you see Justin on screen now coming up to Wilson, and you're right, Tranquerade just went through there. You could see flashes of him in the distance on the screen. Now, Mecanos is teammates with Albrecht, though, we should point out, and Tranquerade is not. Granted, it can be difficult sometimes for them to play favorites, but makes me think that this could disadvantage Ove a little bit more than it does Mecanos.
One thing I did not talk about on our track guide was the Audis actually have a better speed off of the tight corners than the Nissans. The Nissans have to wait for that turbo to spool up, and the Audis with their four-wheel drive really get a good speed off the corner, but looks like Justin caught them at the right time.
See, that's Avdal in the background that's now letting our GTP leader through, and he's just going to get by in time. I think he might get them on the front stretch, so this might work out just right for Justin. It depends on how quickly he catches them through Coram here.
Phil Lake isn't going to be held up much either. He's going through Coram on the outside of these two, so he's actually gaining a lot of time now on our leader, Justin Albrecht, but he misses the final corner and almost spins it. But Justin Albrecht is going to catch them now on the front stretch, so he's going to go straight by. It looks like Phil Lake loses that time that he gained.
Yeah, we're riding on board with Justin just as Phil Lake had his moment. Let's take a look at what happened. He was in a hurry to get through Murray's corner. With this traffic, you can watch as he swings around the outside. Saw an opportunity to really gain some time. Ugh.
That's a terrifying moment. It's a terrifying moment as a Nissan driver. Just absolutely terrifying when those wheels start to come out from under you and that rear end starts to go around. That's a really dangerous position, but it looks like Justin Albrecht got significantly held up behind Rob Olnick that time, and he's doing it again.
You can see the difference in lap times, and it looks like when they were in clear air, Justin had the legs over Phil, but Phil's been using the traffic to a little bit of his advantage. Ooh. Oh, and Phil Lake did he get the wall?
He did, yes. He pancaked the wall hard.
Well, we were just singing his praises, so commentator's curse strikes again.
And he's pretty bent up now. He just was trying to get a really good exit there. He knew that he was gaining time and just got into the grass a little bit, got those rear wheels spinning, and that just sent him into the wall.
Are you saying he got bent up on the Bentley straight? You said it, not me.
You better believe it.
He gets by the battle of Mecanos and Tranquerade. Actually, he holds up Mecanos a little bit, and Tranquerade is the closest we've seen him. He's going to try to look the inside. He's covered off by Nick Mecanos at the last second, so he looks to the outside instead, coming through Rich's double apex right-hander, just offers no grip around the outside. Tranquerade backs out of it.
Yeah, not sure where Trangray's going to try and find the pass. That was his best opportunity, but both of these drivers really sliding those tires on exit of these hairpins. They're really putting it all out there. These two guys are battling like their lives depend on it, and their championships may. So this is a good time to fight.
And don't look now. Here comes John Keefe and Jungbluth also in a battle for position. One gets to the inside of Mukanos, but the other stays stuck. Jungbluth now has to try and squeeze by just before they go through Hamilton, and he's going to be able to do it without inconveniencing Mukanos, but his line was certainly off as John Keefe now stretches away.
Trangrade is trying really hard to dive in late into these corners and try and get good center corner speed, but Nicholas Mukanos is doing the right thing, focusing on his exits. And this Audi with the four-wheel drive can really get good exits out of the corner if you can get your nose pointed in the right direction. So Mukanos doing exactly what he needs to do to try and defend his position.
This is Luis Emerton now trying to come through. Whoa! And completely off the course. Ove Trangrade catches it before they get to the bomb hole. Now he's got to regroup and get back to the back of Mukanos once more.
Yeah, he hung on to that really well. It's really difficult to hang on to these cars when they get loose off of the grass there. But with the four-wheel drive, he was able to just power out, put his foot down, and that just locks up the differentials a little bit, gets the car adjusted, and points him in the right direction.
You know, one thing I haven't noticed is that John Keefe is actually on a podium right now. And because of Phil Lake's damage, he's already caught the number 2. And I wonder if he might actually be able to get up into second place. Now, they're well behind Albrecht, but this will be a good result today for the 12.
Well, if we could take a look at the lap comparisons between Phil Lake and John Keefe, I believe that'll tell the tale of the tape, because John Keefe is catching Phil Lake at a rate of knots. Look at that. Almost 3 seconds last lap when they were at speed. So I believe John Keefe is going to have a good result here if he can just hold it together and get past Phil Lake.
This has got to be frustrating for Phil, and he'll know how much speed he's losing as they come down the Bentley straight. Is it much aero damage hurting his top end? John gains a little bit down there. Now they come into Brundle, and there is really where he gains. It seems to be the braking zones that are hurting Phil Lake. That car is not gripping, trying to slow down.
Possible that Phil has some toe damage, and that can really upset the car under braking and under heavy corner loads like these. So John Keefe has a much better car right now, but Phil Lake, he's no slouch, and he's not going to let John Keefe by easy. But look at the aero damage. The speed differential on the straights is somewhere in the realm of 20 miles an hour. And so Phil Lake, just a sitting duck for John Keefe if he can get there.
And that's going to help. Into the wall goes Phil Lake for the second time today. This one, a much harder thwack. He knows it. He takes the toe.
I'm going to go on board and just take a look. It's really hard to judge where the outside of your car is in these Nissans. And he just takes that corner, gets a little bit too wide, and then he's just the aero push from the previous accident just sends him straight into the wall.
To tell you just how frustrated Phil is. He wasted no time. He's exited the server. That, to me, looks like a driver who is extremely disappointed with how today has gone. That does promote John Keefe to second, and Jungbluth onto the pole now, only a second and a half behind the number 12 car. Or excuse me, onto the podium now, I should say.
We're taking a look at Riley Thompson and Rob Olenek, that battle that you may not think it's a battle, but I believe Rob Olenek has been just kind of pacing Riley Thompson, just trying to save his stuff, see whether or not there's an opportunity. As we come to halfway now, these tires are going to start to fall away for the Audis, and Rob Olenek, hopefully he's been saving his stuff, and he could put on a challenge for Riley Thompson for the lead.
You might want to duck down to 9th and 8th here, because Riley Downey is being chased by Serbin. And he's getting awful close to the back of that green and yellow Audi. I have a feeling that the 13 is setting something up. If he could just find a way past. He gets a good run coming off of Williams. Is that enough of a run, though? That's the question.
It is, because Riley Downey misses a shift, and he loses a ton of speed there on Bentley Straight. And now as they go into Brundle, it's up to Sergey Serbin to hold his line here and get past through Nelson, and he does.
Nice and smooth. Great stuff from Sergey Serbin. Put his car where he needed to put it, took advantage of the mistake, and that gets him into 8th. You were talking about Olenek holding Thompson honest. I think it's Trangrade really that's holding Mukanos honest, because he's staying within a second, even though he's fallen off a couple times here. One little slip up from Nick is going to gift this place to the Norwegian.
Yeah, Obe Trangrade really putting pressure on Mukanos. This has been a raging battle since the very beginning of this race, and it's just impressive to see these two drivers putting it all on the line like this. These two guys are pushing each other very hard, and that actually is really seriously impressive as they continue to push forward. They actually have been gaining a little bit of time on Rob Olenek, I believe, as Rob's pace is starting to fall off. So Nicholas Mukanos being pushed by Obe Trangrade is starting to bunch up the field a little bit.
That'll be fascinating if this becomes a battle for second as well. They're going to be greeted by traffic. Johnny Bell is rocking up behind them. Johnny's actually gained a couple spots himself, but unfortunately it's by attrition. Gerber's not come back into the race, and Phil Lake, as we saw, has exited. But this puts Johnny Bell into a top 5. If he can keep it clean, though. Ooh, that was a little antsy there.
And that held up Obe Trangrade significantly. He lost a full second just on that corner. So that's going to be a serious bane to Obe Trangrade's charge to Nicholas Mukanos. He's going to have to push even harder now, and we'll see how long those tires last with both of them doing this.
Out of the final corner, maybe a little hold up behind Bell, but Mukanos not sweating that one. It stays at about a second and a half between himself and the number 7.
And you know what? I thought that Sergey Serbin was done and dusted with Riley Downey, but Riley Downey proving that he is no slouch. He's right on the tail of Sergey Serbin now as they go onto the front straight. And I thought this battle was over, but Riley Downey showing that he has some pace, and he's going to challenge Sergey Serbin as they go into 1.
And look to the outside. This didn't work out for Trangrade last time. He struggled to find grip, and you could see that car just suddenly lose out mid-corner as Serbin solidifies his P8. Covers off the inside of Wilson, though. He clearly feels threatened by Riley.
This is a really good battle. Sergey Serbin holding his own, putting his car exactly where he needs to be to defend his position. Riley Downey having to find a way by. And wow, look at that. They both go extremely wide. That's going to allow Riley Downey a good chance that he might lunge up the inside here.
He thinks about it, but comes back to the racing line, tries to square off the corner, but both of them miss the apex as they come out of Augustini into Hamilton. Let's see if he sets him up for the backstretch. He certainly manages to get close to the rear wing of that car. Oh, that was a big bobble, though.
Yeah, it looks like he just locked the right rear a little bit, and that spun the car around a little bit, and so he's going to lose a ton of time now as they go back onto the Bentley straight.
Let's jump away from that for a second, because I've been keeping half an eye on Fabian Jungbluth, and he is hovering at about 0.7 of a second behind John Keefe. He's got eyes on a potential second place here, and this traffic, as you mentioned, tends to play a role in these camel races, so all it takes is just being the right place at the right time, and Fabian could pounce.
Yeah, Fabian Jungbluth has been gaining just a little bit on John Keefe over the last about 3 or 4 laps. And John Keefe, he's being consistent, but Fabian is just being extremely aggressive. He's taking very aggressive lines and being very risky with his car, and that's paying off for him. He's making inroads into John Keefe right now.
Right on board with Jungbluth, looking ahead to the red and white machine of John Keefe. As they come back onto the center straight. Very good exit, though, for John from there. We can't get away from Mukanos and Trangrade, who continue to stay just joined at the hip.
Tranger definitely has better pace than Mukanos on longer runs, but he's just not had the luck and not been able to find a way by. But he's definitely in a good spot now if he can get a good run out of Wilson. But Nicholas Mukanos, his corner exit speed is something else. He has that car set up in this open setup series just really well so they can get his nose pointing in the right direction and get off the corners well.
I know you've got plenty of experience working with a team in this series, and Mukanos obviously with the Dirty Tort guys. How much do you think they share those setups, or is it pretty personal on these cars?
The setups are shared, but there are some things you can do to make it a little bit more personalized for you. There's an adjustment that you can make based upon how much of the power goes between the rear wheels and the front wheels, and that can really help rotate the car in the middle of slow corners like that. So that's an adjustment you can make to the four-wheel drive system to really help you get better turning in through the corners if you'd like to make that adjustment.
Man, Ove got a great run off in Murray's, but just not quite good enough. He keeps getting close coming up to Rich's, and every time Mukanos prevents him from taking the inside line. So I almost wonder if it's going to take some sort of sneak attack or something from Ove to be able to peel that away, because that certainly seems to be his strongest area.
And Fabian Youngbluth has gotten extremely close to John Keefe now. He's within half a second. This is the margin of error distance for these Nissans, and he's got a really good opportunity here if John makes any sort of mistake. John's going to have to push himself. Oh, he blows his engine! John Keefe has blown his engine!
Oh, no. All that time running such a good race and looking at a second place. We're watching the replay, but I can tell you right now, he's just sitting despondent on the outside of Wilson.
So an early upshift, and that ends his race. Just pops the engine straight away. Something that I was concerned about going into this race with all these slow speed corners and all the gearbox work that you're going to do here. It's really easy to be distracted and slip up and have that happen to you. It can happen to the Audis as well.
Man, and here's the thing. We only started with 7 GTPs. We've got 5 left. Or excuse me, 4 left now because John Keefe has retired. The timing and scoring will update here in a second. Johnny Bell will be bumped up to 4th. He could find himself on the podium here if we have one more car go south. Meanwhile, this battle on screen, Downey and Serbin having a ding-dong of a battle.
And Downey making the pass there on Serbin, a little dirty, but they got it done. And oh my goodness, the battle going through Corum is just intense there with the lapped car of the 10 or the 11, I believe. Is that Louis Emerton that went by?
That was Youngbluth. Maybe Youngbluth, who's now promoted to 2nd.
Extremely risky, but Ryan Downey really showing that he was not willing to give up that position there. Riley Downey and then Sergey Serbin just trying to hold on to it as they got made contact there through those corners at Nelson.
Right on board with Serbin. These two seem very close on pace, because once one passes the other does not go away. We've seen it swap back and forth. So let's jump up to Nick Mukanos once more. Ove Trangrade having, I believe, let traffic through recently, I'm hearing, or...
No, Simo Raba's right ahead of them. So this is the... Oh my goodness, Simo Raba going extremely wide. I guess he's going to get out of the way of these two. But man, that's just a little bit of distraction for Nicholas Mukanos. That might give Ove Trangrade the opportunity he needs, but he can't hold on to it going into Corum. Let's see whether or not he can make this pass work. He's going to have to get a really good exit out of Murray's to make this work.
Somebody needs to tell Ove that even though it's an 80s Audi, it's not the rally version. He has had more off tracks. His safety rating is certainly not going to look good after this one, but he sticks with him. He's still in 4th, and he wants that 3rd place. He missed out on it in the Lotus 49 and really wants to make up for it.
Ove's going to have to get a little argy-bargy here because Nicholas Mukanos is doing everything right to defend his position. Ove might have to get a little rude and try and stick one up the inside when Nicholas is not expecting it, but that requires him to get a better run off of the corner, and he doesn't seem to be able to do that. Oh, this is the time!
And he's gonna be able to easily breeze by on the outside, but does he have the apex? No! Inside goes back to Mykonos, and once again having to swing out into the grass, the Norwegian just cannot catch a break.
It's those corner exits that are really getting to him. Ove Trangareid's car not set up to do corner exit well. Nicholas Mykonos' car is, and that's allowing him good opportunity.
Well, he's still right there at the rear bumper. So I think just one more mistake or maybe a good run. He had a good run, but unfortunately into Brundle. It's not going to be there quite yet. He smells blood in the water, though. I think Trangareid is not done yet here with Mykonos.
Definitely not. These two battling it out really hard. Ove Trangareid, I think that he's decided that he's done waiting. He's going to try and do everything he can to get past Nicholas Mykonos now. Nicholas Mykonos getting a really good corner there at Murray's. A really good exit as well. Ove Trangareid losing a bit of speed, but he might be able to take the toe up here through the first corner. Let's see what he can do here.
Just runs out of straight before Riches. And they've got more traffic within their own class. Michael Haynes up ahead of them. Wonder if that could be what he needs. Could he set up a pick potentially? And Haynes is trying to ride around the outside, but he catches both of them out. So nothing yet opening for Ove Trangareid.
Michael Haynes understands that his pace isn't as much as the leaders, and he's always very good at trying to get out of the way of a good battle that's going on, and he allows these two to continue to battle. So much respect to Michael and his GTU battle.
You know, it's kind of wild. We've lost 3 of our prototypes, but we haven't lost a single Audi. They are still out there running. All 13 of them, with Simo Raba being at the back, but here comes another of our prototypes. This time it's Fabian Jungbluth just waiting patiently. He's got nobody near him. He's got time to just sit around and wait for an opening, which he finds on the backstretch. But is he going to get by Brundle? He sneaks in there just in time.
Nicholas Mykonos did break a little earlier than he usually does for that corner to allow Fabian by. That's allowed Ove to get right behind him.
And this is our best battle on the track. Once again, having to use every inch of the circuit. Ove Trangareid all the way to the inside, swinging all the way to the outside, clipping the dirt here and there and everywhere onto the center straight. Man, you can see how much the rear of the car is squirming. You talked about the tires. I don't think Ove is going to be able to keep this up much longer.
And while we've been watching this battle, Sergey Serbin was able to get past Riley Downey, and he's taken a 5-second gap out of him now. So that battle is now over. These two are going to have to duke it out. But Lewis Emerton right on the back of them as they go through the corner here.
Yeah, I was checking real quick to see what happened to Downey. Oh, and we don't need to go to it, but he had a mistake out of Murray's that cost him time. So that's why he is so far back. Just went off track momentarily. Emerton splits our pair as we ride on board with the prototype.
And while we have a moment to breathe here, an update on the leader. Riley Thompson has a 2.5, almost 2 3/4 gap over Rob Olenek now. He is starting to cruise away. Rob Olenek not able to stick with him really. So these two drivers up front really taking off, and Riley Thompson driving a pretty consistent race. All he needs to do is just keep it straight and keep it steady, and he'll have this for the next 6 minutes.
That's a good point. We do have leaders in this race, don't we? Because Justin Albrecht, who occasionally reminds us with a purple lap like he did just a minute ago, is still leading our prototypes. In fact, he's leading it by a whopping 36 seconds over Fabian Jungbluth. Despite Gerber not being here, Albrecht is not lifting off the throttle. He is full tilt.
Yeah, it's frustrating for Phil Lake. He's been having a really frustrating season. A lot of unfortunate events. Oh my goodness, Ove Trangarade has lost it on the front stretch. He's taken some serious trouble there out of Murray's. If we could get a replay of that, he just got it super tight through Murray's and went way outside.
And this is almost a carbon copy of what happened to Downey. Watch on board, just going out into the grass, and finds that unfortunately the green stuff doesn't grip like the black stuff does. That sets him back about a second from Mukanos. This gives us a chance to breathe and really catch everybody up on what's been going on in this race. We got 4 minutes left, so real quickly, I'll run us through pretty much all of the prototypes here. Justin Albrecht, as we mentioned, has just been cruising out front, holding things down, extended it to over half a minute over the rest of the field. This is going to be a good feather in his cap over second place Fabian Jungbluth. Now, he may have inherited some of these positions, but Fabian should feel happy about this one, considering many of his much faster competitors have fallen by the wayside, and he has kept the car whole. He's gapped the car in third behind him. Luis Emerton is going to get himself a podium despite not even putting a qualifying time in, starting from the very back and climbing his way through due to the attrition. Same story with our fourth place driver and last driver running in the prototypes, Johnny Bell. He's a whole minute back from Emerton. In fact, he's already been lapped by our leader Albrecht. We saw it on screen just a bit ago. The number 18 still going and going to get some iRating himself. Let's talk about the top of the Audis though, Adam.
Definitely. Riley Thompson on lap one, taking off out of Montreal, just has not looked back. He's been able to gap Rob Olenek in second place by about 4 seconds now. Rob has decided he's done with his challenge. He's just going to try and conserve and make sure that he takes home this second place finish. So he's in a good position now for points as well. Nicholas Makanos there in the third position, still under heavy pressure from Ove Trangarade behind him. Nicholas Makanos holding that position since the start of the race as well. And Ove Trangarade holding on to fourth since the start of the race. And he's been trying to get past Nicholas Makanos since the drop of the green flag with no luck. He's had good opportunities. He's almost had him in a couple of spots, just like this corner here at Agostini, but no chance there. Then we have Matthias Hobdahl in fifth position. He's been having a very consistent race, made a couple of passes early on, but now holding station in that top 5 position. A good spot for him for sure.
And worth pointing out, remember, he was challenged by Castro at the start, but Miguel has fallen well back. So Hobdahl responded, he got ahead, and then left him in the dust. So credit to him. Miguel, though, I'd love to see him show up some more. He's feisty. I like his spirit. Hopefully he can do more than this top 6. Right now you can see he actually has a little bit of a battle on his hands. Reed Miller is within a second. Now, he's only got 2 minutes left, though, so the 15's got to hustle if he wants to make something happen.
And we've seen how fast Reed Miller is, and we've also seen how fast Sergei Serbin is. But
did we miss an incident with Luis Emerton?
Luis Emerton is off.
Checking to see if it was just a connection issue. I think it is. We've got the replay here. He's coming through Coram. And he'll make it through Brundle, and unfortunately... And it looks like he has returned.
What a scary moment for him. That's not what you want to see closing in on the last 2 minutes of a race. That is a terrifying moment as a driver when you see that Q bar go up.
Lazarus only has to get 1 more or 2 more laps done, and he can at least claim a podium here. Hopefully Emerton won't disappear again. And I think we might actually be on the white flag lap. Yes, because Albrecht has to have come across that start-finish line before the minute 30 mark, which is about what they've been running. As he goes by his teammate, Reed Miller, he's going to split him and Castro just for a second.
Yeah, this battle not quite close enough for Reed to get there, I don't think. The battle for third and fourth in the GTOs continues to battle, and I'll be watching that as we watch Justin Albrecht go through these corners here.
This is an incredibly varied mix of losses in the prototypes, considering how small their field was. Fabian Gerber went out due to a connection issue. Phil Lake wrecked the car, and then John Keefe blew an engine. But no such problems for the number 3, Justin Albrecht, who works his way out of the tricky corner of Nelson and then on through the bomb hole into the sweeping, fast Corum. He's got just a little traffic in the form of Hovdahl up in front of him. And Hovdahl's going to let him take the apex on that final corner. He doesn't want to have to do another lap. Justin Albrecht going to take victory in round 3 here at Snetterton.
We still have a battle here for P3 between Nicholas Picasso and Ove Trangrade. Ove Trangrade, knowing this is the last lap, he's going to have to make something work. Riley Thompson's still 4 seconds ahead of Rob Olenek, so that battle's not going anywhere. But Ove Trangrade's lack of speed off of the corner is really coming back to bite him. And both these drivers, their tires are gone. They're just four-wheel sliding through every corner. I don't think Ove's going to get it, Joe.
Well, the one advantage Ove has is he's very used to doing four-wheel drifts, both here and in the Lotus 49. So if there's, someone who I thought would be able to use it to his advantage, and he doesn't lose a lot of time with that off out of Augustini, so he could still be in this. That's what amazes me, is how many mistakes have we seen from Uwe, and yet he is still right here. Switching up to our leader, the number 6, Riley Thompson. Adam, you had your doubts on whether he could take this one home, but I think this is a firm answer. Riley Thompson with a 4-second lead over Rob Olenek. It's not as dominant as what Justin Albrecht did in the prototypes, but Thompson puts his foot down. Up, coming into the Murray's Corner, the last turn on the track, and onto the Senna straight. Nice smooth upshifts is all he needs. The number 6 wins here in the UK.
Rob Olenek is going to take second, and it looks like Nicholas Pekanos is going to hold on to third position there as he takes off. What a battle between him and Ove Trangrade, giving us a great show the entire time. So what an amazing battle there.
And as that goes on, I believe we were running to look at 6, but it looks like they've already crossed the finish line behind the leader. So that was a great battle in the Audi field all throughout. We're going to take a rest from that, though, and come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. But in between there, stick around, because on screen you can see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. welcome back to Snetterton Racing Circuit. The full 300 layout was used today for round 3 of the Kamel GT series, and up at the top of it, it was a spanking from Justin Albrecht, just whomping the field ahead of Fabian Jungbluth by 45 seconds at the end of this race. Luis Emerton gets himself a podium, even though he didn't even qualify, but only 7 cars started, so he did have a little bit of help in that from the small field. Johnny Bell as well should be pretty happy with a 4th place, and you can see we already get to the Audis, so John Keith, Phil Lake, and Fabian Gerber, the only other 3 GTPs, were DNFs, Adam.
Definitely. And then we had Riley Thompson taking home the win in the GTO class after a good launch out of Montreal. He never looks back. And Rob Olenek, who could hold with him about a second and a half back for most of the race, just wasn't able to close that gap on the closing stages, and he comes home in 2nd place. Nicholas Bucanos, after being heavily pressured by Ove Trangrade throughout the entire race, is able to hold on to his 3rd position. And Ove Trangrade, a disappointing finish for him, knowing he had more pace than Bucanos on the open track, just not able to get by with that lack of corner exit speed, comes home in 4th. Matthias Hovdahl in 5th position, a really consistent run for him, and a good battle with Miguel Castro behind him in 6th in order to secure those positions. Then we have Reed Miller coming home in 7th position, unable to get by Miguel Castro at the end of the race. Sergey Serbin passing Riley Downey, a good battle between those 2 drivers in order to come home in 8th and 9th position. Fran Toledano on his birthday is able to get a good top 10 for him. Gennady Kalashnikov in 11th position, and Michael Haynes and Simo Raba round out your GTOs, with John Keefe, Phil Lake, and Fabian Gerber being our DNFs from the GTP class.
That brings us to our interview with our winner in the GTOs, Riley Thompson. Riley, from our perspective, it looked pretty smooth, but what about for you? Were you being pushed all the way by Rob, or was this basically just managing the gap?
Yeah, Rob kept me on my toes the whole time. I honestly didn't expect to really be up there. I started practicing last night and just gave like 20 or so laps, but Rob definitely kept me on my toes and made sure I was smooth. So
yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the practice. I'm going to throw Adam under the bus. He doubted you at first before we went live because he didn't think you had the pace. But as soon as you started putting some fast laps in, we both raised our eyebrows, and that looked pretty decent from our perspective. Now, what about the traffic? I have to imagine you enjoyed having only, 7 supposed to start this race in the GTPs. Only 6 found the grid. Did that make this just a kind of a nice, beautiful day out there?
yeah, it was really just between me and Rob with all of that, because without all the Nissans to worry about, I just had to worry about keeping him behind and have to worry about Nissans closing the gap too much.
Fantastic stuff. Well, 3 rounds in, and next time we head over to Interlagos, which is going to be equally a bit of mix of technical and long straights. How do you usually fare there?
I think that should be okay. I typically like Interlagos and the type of corners it has, so I think it should be a pretty good race. Traffic's normally chaotic there too, so just trying to make it through that should give you a pretty good finish.
Yeah, we hope to see a good show. Is there anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, Total Downforce Racing, Black Box for being on this beautiful car, Pixel Dust for making this beautiful car, and you guys for broadcasting this amazing series.
No problem. Thank you for the kind words. That was our winner, Riley Thompson. I like that company name, Pixel Dust. That is clever. I'll have to go check them out. But we are going to close up as nobody else has come to talk to us today. Must have been pretty tiring out there. So once again, a thank you to the Kamel community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and also to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Make sure and go to their YouTube page, click on the button that says subscribe if you haven't already, and get all of the Kamel GT in your YouTube feed. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. As we mentioned, we're going down to Brazil for the next one, Interlagos. That'll be Saturday, July 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.